and welcome to Southside Church. One of the driving things behind everything we do at Southside is to make sure that no matter who you are or where you're from, you feel right at home with us. So maybe you've called this church home for a while, or maybe today is your first time tuning in. Wherever you fall in that, you should know that this church is for you, and we've been praying for you. So if you're new here, on behalf of everyone who calls this church home, I want to say welcome. We have a welcome here gift for you. It's a $5 Starbucks e-card, and you can use it at any Starbucks around the world. So no matter where you're watching from, just text hello to 604-670-3040. We'd love to buy you a coffee. Now let's take a look at what's coming up at Southside together.
Hey guys, Brianna here, just with two quick things that you need to know about our church for the month of August and heading into September. So first off, let me just start by saying days like yesterday for the city, man, do they ever remind us just how fun it is to get to be together in community, celebrating, partying together. So with that in mind, we have for the month of August planned days that we're calling Sunday Fun Days. So you're gonna hear a lot more about Sunday Fun Days, even in this next segment from Pastor Josh. But let me just tell you, we have a kids event next week. We've got an amazing race planned for students and adults coming up. We've got a food truck event coming up, and all of these amazing things can be found on our website, southsidelife.com/Sunday-Fun Days. You can see all of your registration and info there. But all of these things are leading up to fall launch. It's always a good time at Southside, but this year we actually have extra to celebrate because that weekend, the weekend of Saturday, September 12th and Sunday, September 13th, also marks the beginning of us being able to come together physically as a church for services again. So online community, don't worry, online church is here to stay, but for those of us in Chilliwack, you actually now have the opportunity beginning that weekend to sign up for one of 5 Sunday services. And so those services are going to be held at the hangar, 50 people each, and registration is live now. You can go to our website and check it out. We've got evening services, we've got Sunday morning services, plans for your kids and social distancing. It's all pre-registration only, so sign up you and your household as soon as possible. Cannot wait to see you there. We cannot wait to be together, and we are taking this month of August headed into September just to come together as a church again, and we can't wait to see you there. So check it out.
Well, thanks, Brianna. My name is Josh. I'm the kids pastor here at Southside Church, and we're super excited for Sunday Fun Day. So August 16th, we're kicking things off with the Amazing Race Family Edition. You guys can show up at the hangar from 1 to 3 p.m. to start things off. You're going to get your first clue there, and it'll take you to complete some different tasks and activities across the city, and you're going to end up finishing up at the hangar again in a tug-of-war competition against me and another person. So you guys are gonna have to take me down in order to finish. And hey, how it's gonna work is the top 2 times are gonna walk away with Cultus Lake Adventure Park tickets for you and your family, and a $30 Dairy Queen gift card. And then we're gonna do 2 random draws for every family that joined us that day, and you guys are gonna get some Cultus Lake Adventure Park tickets. So we're super excited. Make sure to come out and have some fun with your family. And I'm gonna send things off now to Sarah to hear about our amazing For the City initiative that just happened on Saturday.
Thanks, Josh. Sarah here. I am so excited to update you guys on the biggest ever For the City Day we just had. We had over 9 cities with 12 initiatives and over 300 people. We were able to commit $35,000, and stories are already pouring in of people that had hope and help meet them exactly where they're at. I can't wait for you guys to see the video that's going to be coming out next week. But for now, thank you so much for making this day a success.
We've got a lot to celebrate and a lot to look forward to. Thanks for that, guys. At Southside, we serve, we give, we plan, and we celebrate from a foundation of the love of Jesus. We see Jesus using us as a church with big things and little things to bring hope to people in hopeless situations. We know that we can't do everything, but we know that together we can do something. When you invest financially in the mission of Southside, you're investing in showing God's love to a world who's definitely running low on hope and love. You might feel right now like you'd like to help us make that investment in the lives of the people around you by giving today. Your best option might be e-transfer, or maybe it's credit giving. Just text the word give to 604-670-3040 or visit southsidelife.com and click the orange banner on the homepage to see all your giving options. Now let's get ready for our message today. We're hearing from Pastor Mike, and he's preaching a remarkable message. I know it speaks directly to how I'm feeling, and I have a feeling it's exactly what you need to hear from God today too. So join me in grabbing a pen and paper as we get ready for the message today.
It's rebuilding time. And here's what's crazy. We get to help. And the answer is really clear, isn't it? What are we rebuilding? Everything. We're rebuilding our world. If not us, who? And if not now, when? It's rebuilding time. And together, we get to help. I wanted to start off today by telling you it's an honor that you would welcome me into your place, wherever and whenever that place might be. Whether you're watching this today or tomorrow or next week or next month or next year for that matter. In fact, that kind of reminds me, I think today would be a great day to share this talk. I think it's a talk that you and me, we've had to have it for a while. And I think everybody you know actually needs to hear it. So wherever you are, whether you're in your kitchen, at the lake, in the car, on the boat, in a coffee shop, wherever, I appreciate you having me over. I'm thankful. And speaking of thankful, I'm really thankful to George Franco, who came in for the last 2 weeks to speak to us. He challenged us that if we really want to step up in life, we got to be willing to step down. And he redefined the whole concept of VIP. But you and me, you and me have been talking about this guy named Nehemiah, who lived about 2,500 years ago. In fact, there's a whole book in the Old Testament of the Bible about Nehemiah. It's a book about rebuilding and revival and leadership. And we've been walking through the first 5 chapters of this 13-chapter book. And we've seen some character qualities in Nehemiah that make him a great leader. The first thing we notice is that Nehemiah cares. He's living a pretty good life in Susa. He serves as the cupbearer for King Artaxerxes. He's about 1,200 kilometers from Jerusalem. When he hears the news that the walls of Jerusalem are down and the people of Jerusalem are vulnerable, unprepared, and afraid. And Nehemiah is devastated because he looks at those people of Jerusalem and he says, those people are my people. He cares. Not only does he care, he's courageous. He looks at those walls down, he looks at those people who are vulnerable, unprepared, and afraid, and he says, somebody has to do something to help these people, and that somebody is me. And it got me thinking about you and me a little bit, you know? It's like, I think 2020 has knocked the walls down for a lot of people in our culture. And whether or not you and me are directly involved, we care. These are our people. Not only do we care, but we're courageous enough to say somebody has to do something. It's rebuilding time. And that somebody is us. So Nehemiah, he cares, he's courageous. He's also humble. He's humble enough that when he arrives in Jerusalem, he sees the walls that need to be rebuilt, and he says, this job is too big for me, so he assembles a team. I think the same thing is true of us, you know, like the life that God has called me to live, it's way bigger than I can live on my own. The story that God has called you to tell, it's way bigger than you can tell on your own. So he's humble enough to assemble a team. He's also determined. So the project starts, and they're rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, and they start to face all this opposition from guys like Sanballat and Tobiah. They intimidate and make fun of the Jewish people, but Nehemiah is determined. They keep building. And then we left off in chapter 5, and we saw that Nehemiah is a man of integrity. Because in chapter 5, we see that not only did this rebuilding project face opposition from the outside, it also faced opposition from the inside. That wealthy Jewish people were exploiting and taking advantage of poorer members of their own Jewish community. And Nehemiah looks at them, he calls everybody together, he says, look, here's the thing, man, if we don't get our squat together, we're not going to rebuild squat. If we don't get our squat together, we're not going to rebuild squat. Another way that you could say that is like, if I don't have it, I can't give it. And on that note, we turn our attention to chapter 6 of the book of Nehemiah, verse 1. Now when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem the Arab and the rest of our enemies heard that I had built the wall and that there was no breach left in it, although up to that time I had not set up the doors and the gates, Sanballat and Geshem sent to me saying, come and let us meet together at some place, I can't pronounce it, in the plain of Ono. but they intended to do me harm. And I sent messages to them saying, I'm doing a great work, and I can't come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? It's interesting because you might be looking at me right now saying, hey, Mike, I think you're reading out of the wrong chapter. Because Sanballat and Tobiah, they're so chapter 4. No, they're here again in chapter 6. And here's a spoiler alert for you. Sanballat and Tobiah keep appearing in the book of Nehemiah all the way to the 13th and final chapter. There's a lesson there, by the way. Anytime that you do a great work in your life, when you do a great work in your marriage, when you do a great work in your family, in your neighborhood, in your church, at work, anytime you do a great work, you will always face opposition. Not just once, but continually. It'll ebb and flow, but it will always be there. But that's okay. See, because Nehemiah showed us how you and me are to deal with opposition. We don't run from it, right? Like Nehemiah didn't stand up in the wall and go, oh no, Sanballat and Tobiah are back. I quit. I'm going back to Susa. We don't run from it. And we don't run to it. Like Nehemiah didn't look and say, oh, you want me to come down from the wall? That's a great idea because I have a brick with your name on it. He didn't do that either. So we don't run from opposition. We don't run to opposition. We run through it. Nehemiah looks at them and says, I'm doing a great work, and I can't come down. You think about Sanballat and Tobiah, kind of a dumb idea in the first place, right? This ambush. Where did they plan it? The Valley of Ono. Like, what a dumb idea. Like, that would never work, right? Like, oh no, it just sounds stupid. It sounds like it's not going to work. Like, can you imagine Nehemiah talking to his friends? Like, hey, should I go meet Sanballat and Tobiah? Where do they want to meet? Oh no. Yeah, you're probably right, Nehemiah. Just hold off. No. But should I go? Should I go meet them? Where? Oh no. Yeah, you know what? We agree. Just stay here and build. That's a pastor joke. And it's hilarious. The tech team, right? The sound guy, Josh, the sound guy right now, is busting a gut in the back because it's so funny. Here's what I want to say, though. I guess if I just say there's a money line in this passage. Here it is. I'm doing a great work, and I cannot come down. That's focus. See, what I hope to show you today is that you are doing a great work in your life. And in order for your great work to be everything that you were created to be, you need to have focus. Years ago, I worked at a little tiny private school. I taught history. I was the head of the secondary school, and I also coached basketball. And I remember in the years right after I started coaching, probably it took us about 3 or 4 years, but over 3 or 4 years, our basketball program went from the very bottom to, in my mind, pound for pound, the best basketball program in the province. like this group of guys, we would go into high schools with graduating classes that were literally 100 times the size of our school, and we would blow their doors off. And I was thinking about it this week. Why were they able to do that? Why was that team able to do that? I think there's a lot of reasons. Like, they were a group of gifted grinders, I called them, gifted grinders. Super gifted athletically, relationally, technically, super gifted, but also grinders, like they worked hard. But I think there was one more reason why they were able to achieve the things that they were able to achieve, and that was focus. I remember a few times a year back then, I would take the whole team before practice, and we would go up to my classroom. And I would write on the whiteboard, I would write down, here are the 4 things that you need to make as the focuses of your life, okay? I would write down God, family, school, basketball. God, family, school, basketball. Okay? And then I would take a line and I would draw a line down, like really far, down below the whiteboard, down my wall. One time I actually said, we're going to take a field trip. And we all walked out of the classroom, down the stairs to the classroom that was below my classroom. I went to the whiteboard of the teacher who taught below me. I drew a line all the way down her board, and at the very bottom I wrote, girls. Girls. God, family, school, basketball. And then below you, a floor below you, girls. Thought high school dating was kind of stupid. I still kind of think that, actually. And every time I say that, I always get somebody that'll come up to me and say, man, I met my wife when we were 7. We started dating when we were 9, and we've been married for 92 years. And every time someone tells me that, I think to myself, wow, you've given me a lot to think about. And I still think high school dating is stupid. But that's beside the point, okay? But that was the focus: God, family, school, basketball. You say, well, where's fun in there, Mike? Oh no, I think if you talk to the guys that played basketball for about the 10 years that I coached at that little school, they would tell you they had a lot of fun. Because you know what? Winning is fun. Achieving great things with a group of your best friends is a lot of fun. Doing things that other people don't think are possible, it's a lot of fun. But I got to think about you and me and this great work that we're embarked on. And I think the same thing that was true with that group of basketball players back then is true of you and me today. God, family, school, basketball. Okay, so what I would like you to do right now is take out a piece of paper, if you have one. Man, I really felt like a teacher when I said that. Take out a piece of paper or take out your phone and please write down those 4 priorities: God, family, school, basketball. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take every one of those and put them in our context today. Make sense? Okay. So the first one, God. Can I put that in our context today? Yes, I can. We'll keep it the same. God. Okay, so the first thing that we need to place our focus on is God. And you know what I'm not really feeling like I want to give you today, or what I'm maybe even capable of giving you today, is like 7 quick ways to set your sights on God in 2020. I don't really have that for you. Or 5 ways to fix your eyes on Jesus this year. I don't really have that for you. What I do is I have a passage. It's found in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. This is Jesus speaking. He says, "Come to me if you are weary or burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." I want to tell you a little bit about my last 7 months. So about 7 months ago, it was December 9th of 2019. I was feeling pretty grateful. Our family was doing great. All the kids were healthy. Our daughter Tori and her husband Josh had baby Noah earlier that year, our first grandson. He was doing awesome. Our son Bedza was off in Australia in YWAM, and we were just so proud of the way that God was teaching him and stretching him. In terms of how was the church doing, December 9th, 2019. Man, on December 9th, 2019, I was looking back at the most amazing year in our church's history. I don't care how you measure it. I don't care what parameters you use it. It was an extraordinarily amazing year on every level. It was a groundbreaking, amazing, life-changing year. And on December 9th of 2019, I was also looking ahead to the sermon that I was going to preach at our Christmas services. And I was really excited because I was pretty convinced that I was going to be the first pastor in history that was going to use the story of David and Goliath as the Christmas text. Okay? And I still believe that I was. And by the way, if you're on a chat right now and you're just about to type in, no, Mike, I know another pastor that did it. Don't. Just let me have this. Let me live in this. Thank you. It's kind of chilling when I think about it, though. The prophetic nature of that sermon. See, if you were there, you might remember that we talked about the fact that Goliath and the Philistines were assembled. There was this giant named Goliath, and they were intimidating the Israelite army. They were mocking them. They were threatening them. They were scaring them. And things were looking really, really dismal. And one day, this punk kid named David shows up at the front lines on a sandwich delivery for his brothers. We said it this way: enter David. Enter David into all this intimidation and all this adversity. And really, without much fanfare, because what can some punk kid do? But this is what we said. We said Goliath was in trouble, but Goliath just didn't know it yet. And then we talked about you and me, and we said, we're about to step into 2020, and 2020 is going to be full of good things, but it's also going to be full of challenge, and struggle and strife and adversity and darkness. Enter you into 2020. And this is what we said. We said darkness doesn't know it, but darkness is in trouble. And some 7 months later, I would tell you, with some faltering faith, I would still tell you, I believe it to be true. And so the Christmas services were incredible. We smashed our previous attendance records for our Christmas service. And we moved into January. And in January, we started hearing about this virus that was kind of shaped like a crown called the coronavirus. Traveling around the world, but we felt a little bit isolated from it here in North America. We weren't sure what was going to become of it. And then by the time February rolled around, we realized that this was going to be an issue. We just didn't know exactly what kind of issue it was going to be. And then March 11th of 2020, Rudy Gobert of the Utah Jazz tested positive for the coronavirus, and the world stopped. That was a Wednesday evening. And I still remember over the next 24 hours, the discussions that we had around church leadership. The first thing we decided is we thought, hey, we'll still have church this upcoming Sunday, but we'll tell people if you're vulnerable or if you have pre-existing conditions, please stay home. We'll stream it live online also. Remember, we were still learning about what this whole COVID thing was back then. We went from that to saying, no, we'll have church, but we'll remove half the chairs, okay? And we'll tell people who are vulnerable or have pre-existing conditions just to stay home. And then we said, no, what we'll do is we'll remove half the chairs, we'll still have church, we'll have like 15 hand washing stations, if we can get a hold of some hand washing stations, set up all around the gym, and we'll tell people who are vulnerable or who have pre-existing conditions to stay home. To learning a little bit more, saying we will not have church, we will launch a brand new campus of Southside Church called Southside Church online. And we did. And I remember in those early days, man, I was so energized and so enthusiastic. I didn't take the virus lightly, I didn't take quarantine lightly, but I felt like God had given me 3 little letters, T-R-Y. We just got to try. We're just going to keep trying. We're just going to keep trying to bring more help, more hope, more home to our city and to this world. So every morning, I would wake up at 4 a.m., not because my alarm was set, but because I just did. I was energized, I was stoked, and I would work all day and into the night every single day. I remember we flew our son Bedza back home from Australia early, and Corinne picked him up at the airport. So Corinne and him had to be quarantined together for 14 days, and so the rest of the family kind of spread out to different places to live. And we had some awesome friends that gave Lucas, Samuel, and I a place to live right on the lake, which was so cool. And my memories of those 2 weeks are just waking up at 4 a.m., getting up, driving along the lake, and coming back here, working all day into the night, coming home, going to bed, waking up at 4 a.m., just energized. And it has been amazing to see what God has done. But something happened to me about a month ago. I woke up at 4 a.m., as usual, but this time I didn't feel energized. I felt exhausted, and I didn't know why. I felt overwhelmed, and I didn't know why, and I felt really sad, and I didn't know why. It's funny, earlier, a couple days ago, one of our staff members was watching a video of me from the week before when we were still meeting at Sardis, so on March the 8th. And he looks at me, he says, man, you look so young back then. And so I fired him. Well, so that's sad, but I mean, he'll find another job, don't worry about him. But I didn't really know why I felt like my walls were down. You know? Like, I could give you lots of peripheral reasons. Like, somebody asked me not long ago, they said, when's the last time you took time off? And I had to look on my calendar, and I said, November of 2019. So I'm like, didn't you take a Sabbath? I did. I took 24 hours every 7 days. I did. But what I realized lately is the way that I was taking Sabbath was not really, I thought I was doing the right thing, but it wasn't really right, because this is what I did. I would wake up really, really early every day and work really, really late every day, so that by the time my 24 hours off came, I had other things that I needed to do that didn't involve my job that I had to get done, so even that day became busy. But if I could just kind of cut through the chase and all the peripheral and give you one summary statement for why I think I got to this place where I felt overwhelmed, exhausted, and sad, here's what it would be. 2020 sucks. Can I just say what we're all thinking? 2020 sucks. And so, Mike, wait a minute. You said that we need to be grateful for these opportunities. No, absolutely we do. But here's what I realized, that you can be grateful and overwhelmed at the same time. You can be grateful and sad at the same time. You can be grateful and exhausted at the same time. So I'm really, honestly, I'm not in the place right now where I'm going to give you 7 quick steps to set your eyes on Jesus in 2020. Or 5 quick ways to find a holy focus this year. I'm just going to give you a passage. Matthew 11, 28 to 30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. See, this is what I realized even over these last weeks. I think I was moving along thinking, man, I'm God's little helper. I'm God's little worker, I'm God's little redneck from Red Deer with a baseball hat that says, get her done, get her done, get her done. You can take the boy out of Red Deer, but you can't take the Red Deer out of the boy. And I feel like what God has shown me over this last month is that I'm not God's little worker. I'm not God's little helper. I'm not even God's little redneck. I'm his son. And that's enough. And at the end of the day, that's really all there is. And my job is just to rest in that. And when I rest in that, what happens is something called becoming. Becoming the child of God who I was born to be. And here's what's crazy. The person that I'm becoming is exponentially more important than anything I could ever do. Let me put that a different way. The person that I'm becoming will make an exponentially greater difference in the world than anything that I could ever do. See, you are doing a great work. You are part of a great work. And that great work, the great work of your life, is becoming. You're not his little helper. You're not his little worker. You're not his little redneck. You're his child. And the great work of your life is going to be to rest in that and to become more fully, more completely his child. So on that piece of paper, what I want you to do is, beside God, I want you to just write Matthew 11, 28 to 30. Okay, next, family. Okay, so I want you to write beside family. I want to change that for our context just a little bit. Instead of family, I want you to write family. Okay, family. So friends and family. Because this is absolutely crucial if you are married, and it's actually more crucial if you're single. Okay, so about a month ago, I wake up and I feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and sad. And my wife, Corinne, says to me, something's wrong. We need to talk about it. And I said, I can't talk about it because I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Like, I need to figure this out first before I can talk to you about it. And then I also remember about a month ago, we did an event at the new facility. We hosted a bunch of small group leaders and key volunteers from our church, and we did a little tour around the new Southside church. And 2 of the people that came to that tour are really, really good old friends of mine. And a couple days later after the event, they texted me and they said, how are you doing? And as soon as they sent that text saying, how are you doing? I knew what they meant by how are you doing. Okay, but here's a little tip for you. If you want to avoid the question but you don't want to lie, what you do is you continually respond to their question with a question of your own. Okay, so this is what I did. They said, how are you doing? I said, how are you doing? And then they said, we asked you first, how are you doing? I said, why do you ask? They said, it seems like you might be hurting. And I say, what makes you say that? Okay, so I just avoided it for the whole, and then finally they said this, we need to get together. We need to get together and talk. And this was my response. And I checked my text messages today to make sure. I said, I've got a couple things going on in my head. And until I figure them out, I will not be good company. So, that's not how it works. I don't even know how to explain this to you. So let me just try to lay it out. What I need to do in my life right now is I need to sit with people who love me. And I need to, when they ask me how I'm doing, I need to say, I'm exhausted, overwhelmed, and sad. And when they say why, I need to say, I have no idea. And then let the silence sit. You understand? Because this whole becoming thing, this is part of it. This is part of it. This is how it works. And the truth is, in your life, in my life, we can't do this great work of becoming alone. We can't, any more than Nehemiah could have built that wall on his own. We can't. We can't. So number one, God. Number two, family. Right beside that, I can't become on my own. And number three, school. So when I said to them school, I guess what I was talking about is work, our work. So whatever your work is. So if you're at school, your work is school. If you're at work, your work is work. Maybe your work is like you're at home caring for your family, caring for your children. That's your work. You say, well, they're not my work, they're my children. Yeah, and they're a lot of work, okay? So that's your work. And here's what I think that our focus should be when it comes to work, what we do. I think our focus needs to be that who I am becoming would shine through whatever it is that I do. That this great work of becoming that's happening inside of me, that it would shine through in the things that I do. So if I'm a street sweeper, that I would glorify God in the way that I sweep streets. If I'm a waiter, that I would glorify God in the way that I waiter. If I'm a preacher, that I would glorify God in the way that I preach. If I'm a doctor, that I would glorify God in the way that I doctor. If I'm a builder, that I would glorify God in how I build. Right? If I'm an electrician, that I would glorify God in the way that I electrocute. I've been waiting to use that. I thought it was going to be funnier than it turned out to be. So that was... Whatever, okay? Whatever you do. If I'm a lawyer, I would find a new job. No, I'm kidding. Whatever it is that you do, that person, that great work of becoming that's happening inside of me would shine through in whatever it is that I do. And if you get to a point in your life where you're just like, I can't do this anymore. Whatever I'm doing, I can't do this. It's not right for me. I need to find something else. That's a great idea. So here's what your prayer needs to be. God, can I please glorify you in this place while I look for and find a new place? God, family, work. And so beside work, you can write this. May the person I'm becoming shine through the things that I do. And finally, basketball. Basketball. You all need to start playing basketball. What is wrong with you? No. I had a tough time figuring this one out. At first I thought it was like, basketball is like a hobby. So you need a hobby, right? Like water polo or, I don't know if water polo is a hobby, but let's just say it is, okay? Water polo or macrame or needlepoint or bird watching. We have a bird watcher on staff, Zach. He's a serious bird watcher. I found out from Zach that bird watching isn't actually called bird watching, it's called birding or twitching. So if you're ever around some bird watchers and you want to impress them, call it twitching. That would be a good idea. But I realized that for this group of guys, basketball wasn't a hobby. Although I do want to tell you that I think a hobby is important. I think you should have something in your life that you just like to do. That you just enjoy doing it for no reason at all other than you just enjoy doing it. I realize looking back at my life right now, this has been something that I haven't done a really good job of. So I've been trying to pick up a hobby this year. I was thinking about trying golf, to make golf my hobby, but I'm just not sure if you can be rested and enraged at the same time. So I'm just kind of working through that one still. But I think for those guys back then, basketball wasn't a hobby. I would suggest to you that instead it was a mission. So that's what I'd like you to write. Beside basketball, write mission. They wanted to leave that school better than they found it. In fact, we talked about that a lot. I talked to them about that a lot. It's funny because all my former basketball players who are watching this, as soon as I said God Family School basketball, they were laughing because they heard it so often. But we talked about this a lot too. You need to leave this school better than you found it. And they took that real seriously. In some ways, I guess they put that school on the map. It's interesting too because if you had come to one of my basketball practices back in that day and you had looked at the team, you know what you wouldn't have probably thought? You wouldn't have probably thought, man, this looks like an assembly of the future rocket scientists of the world. And yet, get this, and yet that group of wingnuts, through their grade 11 and 12 year, in writing their provincial exams, actually took that little school and made it ranked by the Fraser Institute as the #1 academic school in the Fraser Valley. Because they just had this notion that they were going to leave this place better than they found it. It was a small Christian school, so I think they kind of changed the notion for that school of what worship looks like. I think what can happen in a small Christian school sometimes, you can get the sense that the way that you worship God is by playing the guitar and singing. And if you can't play the guitar and you can't sing, then I guess you're not really worshiping God. And I think what they showed to that school is they showed that school that, you know how you worship God? You worship God by becoming. That's how you worship God. By becoming. Everything that is inside of you. You take that and you just become. That's it. So if you can hoop, hoop. If you can draw, draw. If you can sing, sing. If you can run, run. If you can write, write. Whatever it is, that's worship. That's worship. They wanted to leave that place better than they found it, and they did. I remember the last couple years when the team was just so good, and when we would have home games, all the little kids from the school would come. Didn't matter how late at night the game was, they would all be there with their own little basketballs, and as soon as halftime came, they'd all be flying onto the court and playing because they looked and they thought, man, if they can do it, I can do it. That's good, I like that. That's mission. And I think that's you and me. I think somewhere along the line, we came to this conclusion, we're going to leave this place better than we found it. You know what I mean? See, because I don't think you're God's little worker, and I don't think you're God's little helper, and I certainly don't think you're God's little redneck. You're his child. And you know what he says to you? You know what he says to me? He says once in a while, hey, why don't you come to work? Why don't you come to work with Dad today? And he's doing this work called redemption and invites us into it. And then what we find is we find this upside down reality of the open-handed life, that when we give help, we are helped. When we give hope, we find hope. When we give home, we find a home. It's the reason why we did an event for this city yesterday. Man, what a crazy event. Over 300 people putting in thousands of hours 11 initiatives right here in Chilliwack, but then initiatives all over North America, in Calgary, Edmonton, Ottawa, Montreal, New Brunswick, South Carolina, California, all over the place. Why? Because we just want to leave this place better than we found it. You say, Mike, isn't that a little bit naive? Like dropping off groceries at somebody's place, really? Like washing the car of a single mom and filling it up with gas. Like, isn't that kind of like, I don't know, like throwing a pebble of hope into an ocean of despair? You know what I think it is? I think that's exactly what it is. And here's what I really believe. Here's what I think God wanted me to tell you today. I think what happens is when you throw a pebble into an ocean of despair, and then another one, and another one, and another one, you know what eventually happens? You build a bridge to something better. That's it. That's it. So what happens is each of us is doing this great work of becoming. And then together we assemble, and as we become together, we leave this place better than we found it. That's mission. So that's our focus. God, Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30. Secondly, family. I need your help to do this great work of becoming. Number 3, work. May everything I'm becoming shine through in everything that I do. And finally, mission. May part of this journey of becoming shine through and leave this world better than I found it. Because our dad says, hey, I'm doing this work called redemption. Why don't you come along? Let's pray. So God, I do pray. I pray first and foremost to everybody in the sound of my voice today, tomorrow, next month, next year. I pray that they would take on the identity, take hold of the truth that they are your child, and rest in that. And I thank you that you are faithful, God. And that great work of becoming that you started in them, you will carry it out to completion. And Father, I want to take a second, and if you're joining us right now and you're thinking to yourself, man, like I want to invite God to do that work in my life. I want to give you the chance to do that right now. So here's the truth. The Son of God, Jesus, stepped into human history. He lived, died, rose again. And you can invite him into your life to begin that process, that transition, to do that great work of becoming everything that you were created to be. And the only thing you need to do is accept his free gift that he purchased for you on the cross. So I'm going to lead you in a prayer right now if you want to take that step. So dear Jesus, thank you. Today I just invite you into my life. I want to begin that great work of becoming everything that you created me to be. And also, God, I pray that you would put people around me that would help me in this journey. And that you would give me the courage to speak truth and speak authenticity to them. And that who I am would shine through in everything that I do. And I'm thankful. We all pray this in your name. Amen. Okay, so just 2 more things before I go. Number 1, if you're just feeling alone today, like I said it earlier, like 2020 sucks, and maybe you're in a place where you thought, man, it was okay in March and April and May and June and July, but we're in August now, and this is hard, and you're feeling alone. I want to ask you just one favor. Can you let us help? Can you go onto our website, www.southsidelife.com, and at the bottom there's a text box called Southside Together. Can you reach out? We just want to help you. We're all on this same journey of becoming together. And we want to help you in whatever way we can, support you, answer whatever questions that we can answer. But we can only do it if you reach out. And secondly, if you just invited Jesus into your life, you just began that journey of inviting him into your life and becoming everything you were created to be, I would just ask you to do this for me right now. Could you please text the keyword life to 604-670-3040, okay? We're just going to send you some resources and cheer you on again as we're all on this journey of becoming. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Again, it was an honor. We'll see you next week.
Well, that was an incredible message, but just as incredible as I found it equally as challenging. You know, I really relate to the idea of being God's helper. And when I think about a rebuilding effort, I immediately start thinking about what I can do and what I can accomplish. And I love the idea that we're not supposed to focus on that, but just focus on being a child of God and who God is creating us to be, who we are becoming in Him. And so we're going to close with a song today, and it's called Available. And this song is all about just coming in front of God and saying, God, I'm here, I'm surrendered, I'm available. Come do a work first in me, a work of becoming, and then use me and work through me. So we just invite you as we sing this song together to use this as an opportunity to come before God in prayer and just say, I'm available. No matter where you're leading me, no matter how uncomfortable, how personal, how difficult it might be, I'm open, God, for you to do a work first in me, a work of becoming, and then a work through me.
Narrow as the road may seem, I'll follow where your spirit leads. Broken as my life may be, I will give you every piece. I hear you call, I am available. I say, yes, Lord, I am available. Here I am with open hands, counting on your grace again. Less of me and more of you. I just wanna see you move. I hear you call, I am available. I say, yes, Lord, I am available. I hear you call, I am available. I say, yes, Lord, I am available. Here I am, here I am. You can have it all, you can have it all. Here I am, here I am. You can